Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu claims, Purushartha Siromani, the crest jewel of all purposes of religion, is to awaken love of God. Therefore, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishavi masar. Just give up all these attempts to raise yourself on the material platform. Abrahmabhuvana loka punar avartanorjuna. Whether you're Brahma or whether you're in a hellish planet, everything's temporary and you have to die. They're all places of misery. Just surrender to me, Krishna says. And Krishna can take us out of this prison of material existence. Because this prison is inescapable by any other means except when Krishna releases you. There's no other way out. Prison of failure, prison of success, prison of hankering, prison of lamenting. From the highest planet to the lowest, everyone's a prisoner in every situation. And the greatest illusion is I think I'm free. I think I'm the controller. I think I'm the proprietor. And I am the enjoyer. What Chitraketu, that great king and that great learned scholar and that great devotee, had to go through to realize this. And just by hearing about him, we have the opportunity to realize it all today, right now. In fact, Shukadev Goswami says at the end of this story, anyone who just hears this story attentively, especially in the morning, when our mind is awake, hopefully, we don't have to suffer any anxieties in this material world. We can go back home, back to God, and it's that easy. Just listen. I'm trying to listen myself. Just repeating these words. But it's only the beginning of the story. Krishna wants his devotee really to become pure. I'm not trying to scare you, but Prabhupada is trying to enlighten us. Let us travel through Chitraketu Maharaja's lifetime and learn his lessons with him. He chanted the mantra given by Narada Muni and engaged in devotional service. And as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained, he gave up all hope of ever being happy in this material world. He wanted happiness at the lotus feet of Krishna. You only get Krishna when you lose all hope for any other happiness. Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, they will not bring us Krishna. Anyabhilashita sunyam jnana karmanya navratam anukulena krishna anushilanam bhaktar uttama. This verse is the foundation on which the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was built upon. What is pure devotional service? The exclusive benediction that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give the world. Pure devotional service is without the desire to enjoy this material sense gratification, even in the higher planets. It is service to the Lord without even the desire for mystic cities, powers by which we can do miracles that will put everyone around us in a wonderstruck state. Our service must be free of any tinge of desire, even for mukti or liberation. Our only motivation when serving the Lord should be to favorably please Him. That is pure devotional service. And that is what Srimad Bhagavatam is trying to convince us of. So Chitraketu Maharaj, through the experiences he went through, and through the grace of the Vaishnavas, hearing from them, he lost all hope of any happiness in this material world. And therefore, he completely took shelter of the Lord. And from his heart, he was calling out the Lord's holy names. Shall I continue? Because of the grace of Narada Muni, and because of the sincerity in which he received the grace of Narada Muni, he was able to have the personal darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his own associate in just a few days. The mercy is there. But what is our receptivity to get that mercy? That is very important. Angira Muni came when he was hankering for a son. He could have given him the mercy then. He had it. But he was not receptive because he still had so much hope of being happy in this world. But when he lost that hope, he was really receptive. Really receptive. And then when Narada Muni spoke to him, Angira Muni enlightened him, he could take those instructions and become enlightened in 5 days. Amazing. Srila Prabhupada gave his mercy to so many tens and thousands, hundreds and thousands, millions of people. In his books, in the form of the association of his devotees, in his own personal association. Srila Prabhupada explained that the mercy of Krishna coming through the Vaishnavas is like the sun. It's shining for everyone. But according to our capacity to receive it, that's how much we benefit. Some of us can get this message, but it may take us many, many, many births to finally surrender. And others can just immediately. Very important. So he chanted his mantra, and he was given the darshan of Shankarshan, the Supreme Lord Narayan, who was bedecked with precious celestial divine jewels. He had bright blue garments and was the embodiment of supreme spiritual beauty. King Chitraketu was in transcendental ecstasy, seeing the form of the Supreme Lord. And when you see the beauty of Krishna, then what are all these pale, insignificant pleasures of this world that we're hankering for and lamenting over in comparison? Sri Rupa Goswami tells that if you're attached to your property, your prestige, your friends and your relatives and everything else, do not go to Keshi Ghat, where river Jamuna is flowing. Because there you will find Govinda, standing in his Tribanga Swarup, his threefold bending form, playing upon his flute, Venu. And he will steal away your heart. That is the meaning of Hari. Hari steals away all our inauspiciousness. But how does he do so? By stealing our hearts. Stealing our hearts away from all of the prison house of material existence. And all these shackles that keep us bound to the prison house of this material existence. Krishna consciousness is so beautiful. We can Krishnaize everything. We don't have to give up hankering and lamenting. We just have to hanker and lament for the right things. We don't want to just be dry like stones, no hankering, no lamenting. The greatest devotees are always hankering and lamenting, but for Krishna. Gopis are hankering for Krishna, and then when he's gone, they're lamenting for Krishna. And they're always hankering and lamenting for Krishna. The cowherd boys are hankering and lamenting for Krishna. Nanda and Yashoda are hankering and lamenting. In serving Krishna, in pleasing Krishna, it's all for Krishna. And we find in the great acharyas, in the songs of Narottam Das Thakur, we find how he's hankering for the association of the Vaishnavas. Hankering for the association of Srinivasacharya Ramchandra Kaviraj, his dearest friends, such intimate, loving relationships, hankering for the Vaishnavas, company. And when Srinivasacharya and Ramchandra Kaviraj departed from this world, Jaya Nilo Premadana, he's lamenting for the loss of them. Now that lamentation is spiritual ecstasy. Because in that lamentation of separation, there's the deepest union within the core of the heart. The union of the soul with the great Vaishnavas and with Krishna is so much powerful in the feelings of separation. So yes, we should be hankering for the association of devotees. We should be hankering for the darshan of Krishna. We should hanker to go to Mangalarti. We should hanker to chant the holy names of the Lord. We should hanker for service. That type of hankering will burn away all our hankering for material sources of misery. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha jonaya evate atyanta kanta kontaya nate shuramate buddha. Material pleasure is the source of misery because it's all temporary. But how to give it up? By keeping constantly engaged in Krishna service with our body, mind, and words. Hankering for Krishna and lamenting for Krishna. We'll always be with Krishna. So Chitraketu Maharaj was seeing the supreme, all-beautiful, all-attractive personality face to face. There was nothing of this material world that could distract him. But still, he was in a vulnerable condition. After worshiping the Lord, becoming an associate of the Lord, just being with the Lord in such a divine, in his own abode, Chitraketu was ecstatically riding around in an airplane, chanting the holy names. And while roaming through the universe, just chanting in bliss, he had just seen the Lord, totally liberated. He happened to come to the hermitage of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is in an assembly of siddhas, rishis, yogis, swamis, all renounced sages. And they all were sitting at his feet to hear about the principles of divine renunciation. As he was giving them a most magnificent discourse on the glories of renunciation, Parvati, his consort, was sitting on his lap. And right in front of the sages, as he was talking, he was very affectionately embracing her. Chitraketu was very much astounded to see this. And he spoke. He honored Shiva. He worshipped Shiva. But still, he spoke. He laughed. It was just too much. Lord Shiva, you are the greatest Vaishnav. You're an expansion of the Lord himself. You're a supreme personality. You're all-knowing. You're renounced. You're everything. And here you are with your disciples, these sages, speaking about renunciation, embracing your wife, Parvati. This is not becoming of you. At that time, Shiva smiled because he knew Chitraketu's intention. And all the great rishi, sages, yogis, and siddhas around him, they all, seeing Shiva smile, they all smiled and didn't say anything because they knew he wasn't criticizing. He was praising Lord Shiva, but he had some good motivation for what he was saying. Actually, our acharyas explain his psychology. That yadyadacharati sresthas tad evetarojana. What great people do, common men follow. Though there's no doubt in Chitraketu's mind that Lord Shiva is totally transcendental to all material desires. He's always in the ecstasy of love for Krishna. But when he's in this material world, what he does, people are going to follow. If he's in the association of all these sages, if he's embracing women like this, then they will also think that they can do like this. They will follow what he does. Just like Srila Prabhupada explains, Shiva drank poison. So there are so many Shivites today who drink poison in the form of hashish, ganja, chiras, yes, smoking chillums. And we have seen, it's a ritual. Before they puff on the chillum, they will chant mantras to Lord Shiva. Om Namo Shivaya. Like that. It's a sacrament. You are laughing, but for them it's very sacred activity. It's foundational to their spiritual culture. In fact, if they give you the chillum and you say, no, 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 I don't do this, Shiva aparad. We chanted the mantra. That means now it is Mahaprasad. Parvati was outraged. How dare you speak to my husband like that? You are a king. You are the lowest among men. You are so proud, so puffed up, that you dare to instruct and criticize Shiva? Huh? Do you know who's watching this scene right now? Not only all these great rishis and yogis who have renounced the world. Why didn't they say anything? Because they know that Shiva is spotless. Lord Brahma, he's watching. Why doesn't he come down and say something? Because he knows he's spotless. All the greatest of the demigods, they are watching. Why don't they say anything? Chitraketu, you think that you know more, that you are greater, than you are in a superior position, than all these great sages, than all the demigods, than Lord Brahma himself? I curse you. Become a demon in the family of demons. But actually, she addressed him as her son. At that very last verse, she said, because you have offended, my dear son, she said, my dear son, you take birth in the line of demons. Parvati was being merciful. Because she is the mother of every living creature within this material existence. During our Mayapur Yatra, we went to Simantadweep. Do you remember? There, Shiva was dancing in ecstasy, chanting the names of Gauranga. And Parvati never saw her husband in such a state. So he said, who is this Gauranga? Tell me, why are you so happy? And he said that the Supreme Lord Krishna appears with the sentiments of Radharani in the form of Gauranga. And he gives love of God freely in this beautiful golden complexion. So she went to Simantadweep, and she just constantly was chanting the names of Gauranga, and Lord Chaitanya appeared to her. And she prayed, why am I so unfortunate? All your devotees, they are just trying to help everyone get released from material existence by preaching Krishna consciousness. And they're always with you, hearing and chanting about your pastimes and helping others. And my service is to keep everyone bound to this material existence, to create illusions and attachments in people's minds, to keep them away from you. There's no one more unfortunate than me. And Lord Chaitanya said that you are my beloved Radharani, Parvati, in the form of her external energy. Srimati Radharani is making every arrangements for all the devotees to love me in the spiritual world. And in this world, you, my own pleasure potency, take your form to test people and to ultimately purify the conditioned souls so that they will come back to my loving service. So Parvati is the consort of the Lord, who is the mother of all living beings within this creation, within the whole cosmic manifestation. So she was talking to Chitraketu like a naughty child. And as a mother, she gave him the proper punishment. Now, what was the punishment for? Why? This, dear audience, is most important to understand very deeply and carefully. Are you awake? If you're not, now you are. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is quoted by Srila Prabhupada. Chitraketu, after giving up all hope of any happiness in material existence by suffering more miserably than anyone could possibly suffer. And wholeheartedly taking shelter of the association of the great Vaishnavas, following their instructions with their hearts and souls, he was given personal association of the Lord. He saw the Lord. The Lord blessed him. The Lord spoke to him. But what happened? He became a little proud. Hare Krishna. Chitraketu became proud. That I saw Lord Vishnu. I'm so pure. The Lord is so merciful to me. I saw Vishnu. And because of the pride, the little bit of pride that developed in his heart from getting such personal association with the Lord, he thought that he was in a position to instruct Lord Shiva. Even though he was doing it as a well-wisher, that was an offense. And herein Srila Prabhupada cites Trinarapi Sunichena Taror Iba Sihishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari. We should be more humble than the straw in the street, tolerant like tree, ready to offer all respect to others and expect none in return. If we're not trying to seriously cultivate this consciousness, we will offend others. As soon as there's pride, an offensive mentality is inherent within us. And if we start offending others, if we start criticizing others, it's very likely that we will offend a Vaishnava. And if we offend a Vaishnava, we have to pay serious consequences. We see this in Chitraketu Maharaj. We see this throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and in the Bhakti Shastras. Again and again and again, there are examples of even powerful, great personalities who offend Vaishnavas. And what happens to them? Here is Chitraketu. What is our position compared to him? He was just in the spiritual world seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Lord is bestowing mercy on him, love and affection. And he's offering beautiful prayers that are in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we cite those prayers that he offered to the Lord. But he became proud. Very dangerous. Within our contemporary life, there were direct associates of Lord Chaitanya who became proud and criticized Vaishnavas and fell down. Ramchandra Puri was a personal associate of Madhavendra Puri. He was an associate of Ishwara Puri. God brothers, what association. But still, there was some pride in his heart. And he thought he could instruct a superior person. And he lost all his good qualities. Fell down. And here we have Chitraketu. He's in the spirit. He's seeing Vishnu. Yes, you may be a Prabhupada disciple. You may be a personal servant of Prabhupada. You may have been part of his personal, intimate entourage. You may have been one of the first devotees to help him. But if it makes us proud, it makes us feel that we're better than someone else. Even a second generation devotee or a third generation devotee who's a Vaishnav, who never met Prabhupada, who's even touching our feet and begging us, please give me nectar. If we offend that person, if we unnecessarily criticize such a person because of our high connection, reaction will come. We could lose our taste for Krishna consciousness. We could fall down. It's very serious. We could be a pujari. Personally, for years and years and years, doing all the offerings to Krishna. But if we become proud and think we're better than others and criticize a Vaishnav, we could fall down. We could be personal associates with a lot of with great association of great souls, spiritual master, powerful yogis, Vaishnavas. But if we're proud that I'm more fortunate than you and criticize another, we could lose everything. This is how powerful Maya is. Here is Chitraketu. After all he went through, and after surrendering to his guru, he became a little proud. And what was his offense? Because he was proud, he thought that he could criticize Lord Shiva. And he did it for a very constructive, good purpose, but still he criticized. And Parvati, who was the mother, his mother, had to teach him a good lesson. And through him, had to teach all of us a good lesson. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada writes, therefore, whatever our position, however high or low we may be, whoever we may have associated with in our lives, you have to remain meek and humble and go on with your devotional service and not criticize others. The guru can make offense to disciples if criticizing without proper motivation. Although it is the duty of guru to sometimes criticize, it is sometimes the duty of a superior to criticize. But if it's not done very carefully, very constructively, there could be massive reactions. We read about it. And we see it. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised both of his arms and he cried out, chant the holy names and do not criticize others. If Chitraketu, who just saw Vishnu, is not exempt to this rule, don't think that you or me will be. It's very clear. The mind affected by Maya will always justify, well, I have the right. But be careful. Yes, you have the right to fall down. That's the problem. You have the right to criticize, but you also have the right to fall down, even from such an elevated position. Don't think a big post, don't think being honored and worshipped gives you the right to criticize others. But in Kali Yuga, you're just a sentimental fool if you don't. That's the way the world will label you. Yes? When the internet is full of so much criticisms and condemnations, the Bhagavatam explains, in this story actually, that ordinary people, who may even be in the guise of devotees, due to whatever reason, will always be there to blaspheme and criticize great devotees. It's always been, it will always be. We should never be surprised with this. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada tells us a Bengali saying. Do you like Bengali sayings? When Prabhupada speaks them, they are very relishable. There's a Bengali saying that if the vulture curses the cow is not disturbed. The nature of a vulture, being the lowest of animals, is to curse the cow. But that curse cannot take effect on the cow, because a cow is a holy animal. So similarly, the blasphemies and the criticisms of envious people, or ordinary people, or materialistic people, even in the guise of devotees, against sincere Vaishnavas, should never be taken seriously. And the great Vaishnavas also, the cow doesn't care for the curse of the vulture. As long as we know we're sincerely trying to serve Krishna, then what should we care what people say? But we should be very, very careful that we don't become vulture. We can be vultures with neck beads and tilak and dhotis and saris. And we can even have high positions. But we should not criticize devotees. Prabhupada warns us so seriously in this story that we should just go on performing our sadhana, engaged in our devotional service, and be careful not to find faults with Vaishnavas. To encourage devotees, to see the glories in devotees. In Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, there was that one devotee who came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Kuliagram and told him, with this mouth I have blasphemed your devotees. What should I do? Lord Chaitanya said, blasphemy of devotees, criticizing of devotees, is like drinking poison. The only antidote is nectar. Glorifying devotees is nectar. With the same mouth that drank the poison of blasphemy, praise those devotees, drink nectar, and you will go back home, back to Godhead. But it's very difficult. Because when so many people are talking criticisms, and then just anybody can put their criticisms on the international venue of the internet, and anybody could say anything about anyone, it becomes fashionable. We have seen. People are very proud and fashionable about criticizing others. It makes them seem very important. It makes them really feel like they're in the groove. And if you don't want to hear it, and you don't want to speak it, that's sentimental, just sentimentalism, fool. You will be labeled as a sentimental fool if you don't criticize and blaspheme Vaishnavas by other Vaishnavas. That's the condition in this age of Kali. But who should we take seriously? Those people who are putting the stake of spiritual death in their own hearts by doing it? Or the words of Srila Prabhupada, the words of Srimad Bhagavatam, the words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of his associates and the entire parampara? They are all calling out very, very loudly, do not criticize others. Encourage Vaishnavas. Follow proper etiquette. Chant the glories of the Lord, chant the glories of the devotees. Trinadapi sunichena taror ibasihishuna. Amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. This verse is not a detail. Why is it quoted so much? It's a matter of spiritual life and death. To learn to offer honor to others and not expect it or demand it ourselves. Yes, Parvati saw that some pride was in the heart of Chitraketu because he became a personal associate of the Lord. And she had to root that pride out of his heart. So she cursed him to fall down. Hare Krishna. And be a demon. Now Chitraketu Maharaj, he understood his mistake. And he was such an advanced devotee. Even though he made that mistake, he was such an advanced devotee. He showed us how, even if we do something wrong, how to react. He just saw Vishnu. He was a great king. He had the power to curse Parvati. Can you imagine? That's how powerful he was. The Bhagavatam says. Who amongst us has the power to curse the goddess who is the superintendent of the entire cosmic manifestation? He had that power to curse her, and it would take effect. But he was not angry. He was not disappointed. He was grateful. This was the greatness of Chitraketu. When he was cursed and criticized severely as being the lowest rascal in front of everybody, not only in front of everybody, but it was going to be in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam forever. When Goddess Parvati labels you as being a rascal and nonsense, would you like that? He bowed down to Parvati with a grateful heart and thanked her for her mercy. Yes, Parvati, I accept whatever you're saying. Actually, please know I was not criticizing your husband. It may have sounded like that. I acted improperly. I shouldn't have instructed him. But I was only doing it because I adore him. I worship him and I love him. I was just trying to serve him, but I served him in the wrong way. That was his understanding. He explained himself, but he accepted. If this is what I must go through, I'm not the controller. You're not the controller. Krishna's the controller. And Krishna knows what's best for each devotee. Tatenu kampam susamikshamano bunjana evat vikritam vipagam. Srila Prabhupada quotes in this regard, who is qualified to go back to Godhead? That person who is in the most difficult, miserable, traumatic situation, and with folded palms thanks the Lord with grateful heart and bows down. Chitraketu Maharaj exemplified this principle. He thanked Parvati with all respect. Dear mother, yes, whatever you've done is good. Now with your permission, I will go to hell and be a demon. Shiva, Parvati, and all the great sages were so deeply impressed with Chitraketu Maharaj. Parvati was in ecstasy. How he passed this test. What a great saint. And Shiva just looked at her, smiled, and said, see, what is a Vaishnav? No one could be like a Vaishnav. Narayana para sarve nakutashtana bibyate swaraga pavaraga apitulyate darshanam. Those who worship Lord Narayan with love, whether they're in hell, whether they're in heaven, whether they're liberated, it doesn't make any difference. They only want to serve. They're happy just serving in any situation. Whether they're blasphemed miserably, whether they're cast into hell, or whether they're exalted to the spiritual world or the heavenly planets, it makes no difference. They're simply happy serving Krishna, because that's what makes Krishna happy. That is a Vaishnava. Shiva was praising Chitraketu. Parvati was praising Chitraketu. All the sages were praising Chitraketu for being so glorious. And it was at this point that he really attained the highest perfection. When he was tested to such a degree of being cursed to be a demon, and he was grateful. That was the culmination of his spiritual sanctity. But then he became a demon. It's not so easy to go back to Godhead. But we could learn through him and go back to Godhead in this very life. Should I continue? What time is lunch, Prasad? Does anyone know? Well, until I get the message, I will continue. Meanwhile, back in Swargaloka, King Indra is sitting on his throne. He's being worshipped by all sages, rishis, demigods, with Sachi, his consort, on his side, on a beautiful throne. And while he's being worshipped, his guru, Brihaspati, comes into the room. Indra didn't criticize him. He saw him, but he didn't do anything. After all, he's sitting on a throne and everyone's chanting Indra's glories. In the Samaveda, Rig Veda, there's so many beautiful hymns praising Lord Indra. They're chanting these hymns and chamaras and gifts. And he's just performing his duty by accepting all this puja. That's the duty of Indra, to accept all this puja. So he just went on accepting. Brihaspati came in and left. Why did he leave? Because he knew Indra's going to fall down. Why? He made an offense. He did not honor a great Vaishnav when he came in. Romaharshan Sutta was speaking Vyasadev's message. He was speaking Bhagavat philosophy to the sages of Naimisharanya. But he didn't stand up to offer reception to Balaram. Balaram understood such an offense. And he taught the world very strongly we should not offend great souls. Romaharshan didn't say anything against Balaram. He didn't do anything. That's also an offense. So Brihaspati left. And as soon as he left, Indra, who's a very learned scholar and a very, very powerful Vaishnava. Don't think Indra's just an ordinary devotee in the Bhakta program. He offers yajna. Vishnu always personally comes live in person and accepts the offerings. Very powerful. Indra knew, what have I done? I offended my guru. And because of that offense, he lost everything. The demons, they pleased their guru, Shukracharya, and they got power. And they rooted the demigods. Srila Prabhupada writes that when a devotee performs devotional service, all that devotee's relatives, near and dear ones, all get tremendous spiritual benefit by his or her devotional service. But when devotees make mistakes, relatives and near and dear ones also may have to share that offense. So all the demigods, they all began losing their positions. So Indra, I'm going to make this short because it says prasadam is ready. Are you ready for prasadam? How many of you had big breakfast today? How many are hungry just now? Please be honest. Okay, for that one person, I'm going to end class very soon. I think he's so honestly speaking for everyone. Can tell the ocean by one drop. So Indra goes to Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and is told to go to Vishwarup. And Vishwarup would do a yajna by which Indra would be very powerful to conquer the demons. Vishwarup performed the yajna, gave Indra tremendous power, and he actually conquered and got all of his abode and everything and all his wealth back. But he found that Vishwarup, who had relatives on both the demon and demigod sides, he was impartial to everyone. He was everyone's well-wisher. So he offered an oblation for the benefit of the asuras, and Indra found out about that and cut off his heads. Hare Krishna. We won't go into so many details, but just see how material desire, how false pride can corrupt a person's intelligence. He accepted Vishwarup as his guru. Vishwarup got everything back for him, gave him tremendous powers, protected him. But as soon as he did one thing that caused fear in Indra's heart, he killed him. Now, this is the nature of material affection. Material affection, love and hate, are like different sides of the same coin.